Shalom. This week we start with the Torah portion Devarim. It's translated as numbers, but it's actually to do with the wilderness, the desert. And the reason it's called numbers, because it was a census that Moses did, that Yahweh asked him to do, where the word numbers come into play. Now, what's interesting is that last week we looked at a lot of numbers. We looked at the counting of the Omer from first fruits and tried to decipher on which count what happened. So we came to the conclusion that on the 16th of the third month, which is count 61, that's when they arrived at the mountain. On the 18th of the third month, which is count 63, was when Yahweh spoke from the mountain. Now what you'll note is that if you only count 50 from first fruits, you would have still been in the wilderness on your way to the mountain. So that's what we discovered last week. And we got numerous witnesses that confirm that it is counting 7 Sabbaths and then 50 days to get to the point where Yahweh gave the tablets, which is in the fourth month, the 28th day, which is 103 of the Omer count. Now all those numbers that we looked at confirmed through the meanings of the gematria of those numbers the events that happened on those days. So with saying that, I made a previous statement and said Shavuot is a larger topic. It's a greater feast than we think. It's not a day, it's a period. Shavuot is also, together with first fruits, the only two festivals that are not set by a day, but rather through counting. Now first fruits is an easy count. You just count the next day after the Sabbath within the 7 days of unleavened bread, which is preceded by the 14th of Nisan, which is Passover. Now Passover as well as unleavened bread is stipulated by a date. Then Yom Teruah is a date, 1st of Tishri. Yom Kippur is the 10th of Tishri, and the 15th is Sukkot. So everyone has a specific date, a day in a month. Only first fruits and Shavuot does not. And that connects first fruits and Shavuot with one another. They're of the same kind. And first fruits is actually the starting point of Shavuot that leads up to the great feast. That's something that Philo revealed to us in the first century. He's a Jewish historian. And then the day that Yahweh spoke, that is the greater feast, where he spoke the 10 commandments. And then the greatest feast is from the day he gave the second set of commandments. So what about the first set of commandments? What about the second set of commandments? That's another 40 days after. And then there's a time period that we don't know how long it was, where Moses was in his tent talking to Yahweh face to face with the two pillars in front of his tabernacle or his tent. So that is the question. Now if you add all these numbers up, you will roughly get to the middle of month 6. And if you add the few days that Moses spent in his tent, which might have been a week or 2 weeks or maybe 3 weeks, don't know, that is basically pushing Shavuot, the second set of tablets, right up to the first of the 7th month, into the 7th month, which I think matched the pattern, because the sounding of the trumpet, according to Matthew 24 and Revelation, it is when the Mashiach will appear. And that is when Moses appeared the second time. That's when Yeshua will appear the second time. So the pattern fits perfectly. In saying that, it means that Passover in unleavened bread is connected from first fruits right to trumpets as one continual a counting process, which is counting the Omer, which is the whole duration of the collective feast of Shavuot that starts with first fruits and then go right through to Tishri 1. So Shavuot is definitely the greatest feast, or the longest feast, with little milestones as you do pit stops along the way with these specific counts. Now, within every number that you count, there's a meaning behind it, and we've looked at those meanings particularly. Now, this Torah portion that I'm going to do, which overlays with the book of Numbers, is also going to deal with the normal celebration of the traditional feast of Shavuot. So that is the day after the Sabbath, which is coming, which is the Sunday, which is the end of this week, or the beginning of the following week. So where do we stand regarding the count? We haven't reached 50 yet. We're on our way. We haven't reached 63 yet. But we are going to discuss the meaning of numbers 49 and 50, because they are the ones that's applicable to this traditional celebration of Shavuot. We're going to look at the meanings, and also as part of that, we are going to confirm numbers 18, numbers 28 specifically. We're also going to look at numbers 24 and 25, which are the 2 days, the 24th and 25th of the third month, where Moses was on the mountain till the 6th day, which was the 24th, and on the 7th day, the 25th of the third month, he went up into the cloud, and that's when he stayed there for a full duration of 40 days and 40 nights, and then he came down with the first set of tablets, and they had a feast. And that feast, we discovered last week, is actually the intent for the feast of Shavuot, the celebration. And they defiled the celebration by celebrating another symbol, which is the golden calf, and not Yahweh's tablets. And that's a picture of Babylon, the golden calf religion instead of Yahweh's Torah and his commandments. And that is what is happening today. People just count 50 days, and then they celebrate number 50, Pentecost, which is about receiving of the Spirit. And then they jump over the mountain, so to speak, into the future, which is still to be fulfilled from Moses' point of view, which is the outpouring of the Spirit, which is the intent of the fulfillment of Shavuot, which is the receiving of the first set of tablets. Now, the second tablets, as I said, is still yet to be fulfilled during Yeshua's second coming. But prior to that, we as the body of Messiah, after the first coming, receive the Spirit of Yahweh, which is the fulfillment of the greater feast. So we're still waiting for the greatest feast, which is the elevation of the body, the receiving of the renewed bodies, the restored skin, and the elevation to the bride level. So all of these things still need to happen, and we see everything fit perfectly within this pattern. Now, I will elaborate a bit more later on, looking forward to sharing this during the feast time, and I hope you have a lovely day. Shalom.